Why do ex-partners come back months or years later after doing nothing to fix what ended the relationship initially? I am genuinely curious. Is it boredom, regret, ego, or loneliness? Do people really believe they can return without addressing what caused the breakup? And why do they act as if we are just supposed to be okay with it? Story 1. I am married to one of my former partners, but it was a clean breakup that neither of us wanted. Conversely, I had another former partner who has been orbiting my life for 12 to 13 years, and she has not moved on. She has been married and divorced with children, and she never got over our relationship. She broke it off with me and confronted me about it when it happened. I moved on to my current wife and never looked back. Story 2. Usually being lonely, but also your brain repressing the bad moments and romanticizing the good ones. Story 3. I think it is an attempt at finding connection they could not find. I have had ex-partners reach out, but I always declined or said I did not want to talk or reconnect. You do not owe an ex-partner anything, and they can only return to your life if you let them. Story 4. I came back because I regretted the way things ended. I also took time to reflect for 7 to 8 months and felt guilty, thinking I did a poor job. That involved some rose-tinted glasses as well. I know it is easy to say that people come back because the grass is not greener or due to narcissistic tendencies, but sometimes it might not be that. Story 5. It's a mix of what you said. Some women assume that the grass is greener than their current relationship. They believe there is always a richer, more handsome, more fun man out there somewhere and think they can attract him with little to no effort. Then they get out into the world, and when that doesn't happen, they assume they can always return to the last familiar face and pick up where they left off. When they find out that you have moved on, they still want to feel like they have some control over you that is stronger than your current situation. It is an ego blow for them to realize you were not secretly waiting all those years for them to come back. So, they want to believe they can get attention or money from you even if you are not with them because they think you are secretly waiting for an opportunity. I knew a woman who did this. She did not want to date me because she felt she could do better. She liked me but was holding out for a version of me that had muscles and an expensive truck. We remained friends, and I started looking for other people to date. I met my now wife, and this woman just kind of stopped talking to me. A decade later, I got a call from her, and we had a long conversation and catch-up session. She had moved to another state and had been with a number of wealthier and better-looking men, none of whom treated her well in the relationship. She called me because she was in a funk. She was dating an 80-year-old man and was unhappy with how her life had turned out. She saw that I had just gotten married and called to congratulate me. Throughout the conversation, she made hints that she should have tried harder to be with me and suggested that I would have been a good match for her. She also tried to imply that I did not love my wife. A few days after that conversation, she sent me a text asking for money. My wife and I found it amusing. Most of the behaviors you mentioned were present, one after another. She called because she was bored with the man she was with and felt lonely. She regretted not choosing me when she had the chance because she saw I was making someone else happy. Her ego was involved because she likely thought she could convince me to cheat on or leave my wife for her. If she could not get that, she could at least use me as a source of money when she did not want to ask the older man for it. I believe most of it centers around regret. She had a 6 to 12-month head start on my wife. Had she taken me seriously, she might have ended up where my wife is. But that did not happen, so she is just watching from a distance because the path she chose did not work out for her. Story 6. Because humans sometimes want things that are bad for them. Drugs, alcohol, fast food, exes. That was one hell of a Saturday. Story 7. Familiarity. It is easier to go back to familiarity, even if it was not a good experience. The confusion and uncertainty of being alone or meeting new people is all it takes. There is not some hidden reason most of the time. It goes both ways, with abusers and victims both seeking what they know versus facing uncertainty. If it was an amicable breakup, then I am sure it would not be a mystery as much. Story 8. Multiple reasons really. They may have forgotten what they disliked and are romanticizing what they experienced. They might have run out of options and are hoping you will be willing to accept them again. They could have thought too highly of themselves and considered you beneath them, but life taught them a lesson and now they are humbled. There is no easy answer. My motto is, do not go backwards. It ended for a reason, let it remain that way. Story 9. I think I am what is considered the nice guy, and I had one former partner come back a year after a couple of dates. She did not seem interested before, although I thought we could be a good match, but then she wanted to reconnect. The problem was her, and it was amusing to mention that, unfortunately, I was now married. Story 10. Time makes most people romanticize things, particularly if they have not found someone better. Sometimes it is just curiosity about what it would feel like to have a blast from the past. If they want to go out on a date, it is not always best to address issues in messages straight away. On the date, or when both are interested in giving it a shot, there are better chances of having a positive outcome. Story 11. Could be anything. I had a few exes reach out to be friends with benefits or because they did not want to add more numbers to the body count. Every situation is different. It is what you make of it, family. Story 12. The same reason they left. Hypergamy. They thought they could do better but found out they could not. They came back to try with the last best they had. Only fools would accept them back. Story 13. Because the grass is not always greener on the other side. Many women think they can just replace their boyfriend or husband like a pair of panties. They usually cannot. When a person enters a long-term relationship, one molds oneself as well as molding their partner, which makes both parties somewhat ideal for each other the longer the relationship goes on. When one enters a new relationship, one must start with a blank slate on both ends and begin this process again. The process only becomes more difficult and tiresome as we age and become set in our ways. Story 14. Nearly all of the women that I have dated have tried to come back. I will say it is a mix of what you said, mostly regret and ego. The grass is greener where you water it, and when people learn that lesson eventually, they want to see if they can just pick up where they left off. Oddly enough, it is always after I am happily in a relationship with someone else. Story 15. I have been on the receiving end of this 3 times. The first time, I realized after she ghosted me again that she was unhappy with her boyfriend and knew I would be kind and improve her self-esteem. The second time, she ghosted me for 2 weeks and tried to make contact by sending a message about herself. I ghosted her. The third time was my ex-wife, who appeared multiple times when she needed emotional support or was having money issues, never showing interest in how I was feeling or how my life was going. I don't know if there is a universal label that can categorize every case, but I have not met a case motivated by genuine interest in the other person's well-being. I only know cases where the person sees the ex as a non-player character that can be an easy solution to some short-term personal need and then disposable after the need is satisfied. I have had the impulse to reach out to exes during times of need, but I knew it would be unfair to impact their lives for my benefit without any responsibility. Being on the bad end of this experience has made me more considerate of others' feelings. Story 16. Because many left impulsively for someone they later discover to be of little substance. Someone okay with breaking up an established couple, which speaks volumes. Generally, it is best to never take them back. Story 17. I have an ex who I dreamed of sharing my life with. I genuinely loved her and cared deeply. Even when she was toxic, blamed everyone for her problems, and was a narcissistic individual. We have been broken up for 10 years now, but she still sends me a message every year or two claiming I am the bad person in her story. I guess it is about moving on and finding closure. Many people do not move on and just want to find someone to blame. Story 18. If you go no contact, which I did after a 4-year relationship with my girlfriend who had borderline personality disorder, I read that someone like her cannot handle rejection and abandonment, so they rely on you coming back. When you do not, they enter a desperate phase where they feel the need to do something to reel you back in. 2 years after the relationship ended, I saw her waiting for me in her car at my usual hangout spot, but I acted as if I did not see her. She deliberately drove very slowly in front of me to cause me to come down from the car as we were exiting the parking lot. But I pretended I was busy with my phone and did not notice her. She followed me for a few kilometers but then stopped. About an hour later, she sent me a direct message saying that she misses me. I told her, "Thank you for your words. Good luck with everything." That was all. Story 19. I had one that would only come back when I was with another girl. Let her fool me once when I was young and inexperienced. I actually laughed the other day at how toxic she was and how blind I was to it at the time. Story 20. Depends on why they left. Cheaters are usually either toxic or they regret their choice after the fact that the person they left you for turns out to be the bad one. The novelty of the honeymoon phase wears off. Mostly, it is cheaters who do this because in other cases, they do not really have a reason to. Although it does happen, it is rare. Story 21. You are nothing more than the consolation prize after someone else did not work out. Do not fall for it. Story 22. I have an ex who broke up with me almost 8 years ago. She would always ask mutual friends about me, and around the 3 to 4 year mark, she tried to befriend my little sister, who was 16 at the time, to get information about my whereabouts. She showed up at my house to return a blanket that was mine, but I did not answer the door. To this day, I am sure she still stalks me and my current girlfriend on social media, and it makes me uncomfortable. Story 23. They were the problem in the first place, so after them, they have a string of bad relationships and figure the men must be the problem, not themselves. So they go back to an earlier man because he was not so bad. The problem is, she was the problem and it never works. Story 24. Because people don't realize what they have until it's gone. Sometimes people need to step away and look at the bigger picture to understand how good or bad a situation is. Exes coming back is not necessarily always a bad thing in my opinion. Yes, I'm sure there were problems, but sometimes being mature enough to come back, admit your fault, apologize, and try again is stronger and can lead to another healthy relationship or friendship. Story 25. I do not know. Every woman I have ever dated has tried to get back with me. My wife thinks it is funny. I find it annoying. Story 26. A little bit of all of the above. I have never had one come back to want a relationship, but I have had a couple want to come back and be friends again, which really means doing all of the relationship activities without the sex. I was not interested in a friendship like that, especially with them. Story 27. Because they found out the grass is greener on the other side only because they were not over there messing it up. Story 28. I have one who always seems to come back just after I forget about her, when I finally move on. Same deal, when we were together, she was emotionally unavailable, dealing with multiple mental health problems, attending therapy twice per week. She was a mess, but I gave her as much patience as I could. I think she should fire her therapist because 5 years later, she is exactly the same. Trying to have a conversation with her is like trying to have a conversation with a bag of flour. Edit. Why do I give her access? She has green eyes and blonde hair. Story 29. Lazy losers. Too much work finding a new supply of that good stuff. Thinking back on it, they will tolerate us again for the time being, at least until someone new and better literally falls into their laps. Because they are lazy with no motivation, no goals, and the personality of a wet napkin. I hope when they return, it makes your stomach bubble and repulsion consumes you, making it easy to ignore them. Maybe you can even get a little joy out of it too. Story 30. Because the grass is always greener until you realize it is not. Then they realize he was not such a bad guy after all. This usually happens with drama queens. They invent all this drama during the relationship and are upset that you will not feed their drama using gray rocking. So they leave, then realize no one else will put up with their drama either. Then they come back, the sex is great usually because they want you back, and then they proceed to be the drama queen again. More gray rocking, then they leave. Rinse and repeat. I was able to get out of this cycle eventually and find a drama-free girlfriend, and we have been together forever. Story 31. They are coming back for a quick win. If they got you once, they can get you again while looking for the person they want to marry. Story 32. Loneliness and the feeling of missing or remembering the spark you shared. I don't know, it's an awful feeling. I had an ex reach out in January after a director I liked died. It caught me off guard, and though our chat was pleasant, she ended up ghosting again after promising to send an envelope of photos of a friend who had died years earlier. I never got them. Anyway, I tried to return the favor on Friday after an actor she liked died. I did it to see why she really reached out, as well as where the photos were. She still hasn't answered. The thing is, I genuinely don't want to be with her anymore or anything like that. She's living with some guy several states away, and I couldn't care less. It's just the lack of closure that bothers me. Story 33. Sometimes loneliness, other times regret, or simply missing the bond and vibe you shared with each other. Story 34. It is very common with narcissists. It is called hoovering. They do it just because they think they can. Do not fall for it. You broke up for a reason. Story 35. There are many reasons for this, based on you, why you split up, their reasons for being with you, and what they want now, either by choice or lack of. One answer does not fit all. Generally, though, it is not love, as they would not have left you in the first place. Sure, there are times this is possible, but it is more likely they would need a life-changing event like near death or a plane crash to realize something. Story 36. One of mine came back after 7 months because she chose him over me while dating both of us. She was regretting it. We had sex. Then I told her I did not want a relationship with her. She ended up marrying him, and I was the only one besides her who knew about the context. Story 37. There is a personality factor and a timing factor. Some people believe the time was not right in the first attempt. Story 38. An ex told me that everything bad she went through was karma getting her back for what she did to me. I guess she thought I could fix her karma instead of realizing that she probably just does not make great life decisions. Story 39. If they come back, it is almost always because they thought they could secure commitment from a better person but found out that they could not, so they returned to the last person they had commitment from. Story 40. My ex and I got back together because we realized we did love each other and just had some issues to resolve. Story 41. If she chooses drama, that is what she gets. A straightforward person comes across as boring in modern dating culture. Instead, dramatic or volatile individuals are chosen because that seems more exciting. For them, things may not be completely over after a breakup. Story 42. Sometimes you do not realize what you have until you lose it. Once the ex leaves you under the right circumstances, they will realize what they lost and want it back. Story 43. If they have not put in the work, you probably do not want them back. Time heals all wounds, and as the pain fades, it is easy to remember the relationship in a more positive light. However, those same issues can and will resurface if both people have not taken the time to reflect and grow. We are all imperfect. No matter who ended things, there is always something to learn about ourselves from past relationships, whether it is unhealed trauma, emotional wounds, or simply recognizing patterns in the people we choose to date. There is so much growth that can come from that process, but unfortunately, not everyone takes the time to go through it. Story 44. Ex come back? No. She sent me a letter rehashing why we got divorced 15 years after the divorce. So I went to her Wikipedia page and put her real age. She had taken 10 years off, since she is an actress in very minor roles. She called my father about it and reported me. Story 45. Personally, I think the mental states of women have been extremely damaged by various forms of media, especially social media, leading to egocentric delusions of grandeur. People who cannot recognize your humanity will see you as an object to be picked up and put down at their whim. I do not think all women in 2025 are severely mentally ill, just many, and enough that most men have encountered it in their romantic history. Story 46. My last ex called me from a different number almost 2 years later. She broke up with me. I did not. She apologized for having been so stupid, said she missed me, and specifically mentioned our intimacy. I have not talked to her again since. They do it because they miss something you had together and want to check if you feel the same. My ex knew I was in a relationship, and she was with the man she cheated on me with. I know the intimacy was not good either. He did not know how to be intimate, but his family has money. I think it was about the money or something else. Story 47. All of the above and more. They want to change, but they think you are the catalyst for it, when that is only possible after they do the inner and outer work in their lives. Story 48. They recognize that starting over is harder than simply putting in the effort they failed to make the first time. Of course, they will be just as ungrateful and lazy after a while, so never let them step off the path they placed themselves on. Story 49. Two of my ex-partners wanted to rekindle our relationship. One was 2 years after she left me for another person, but her ultimatum was to get back at him by sleeping with me. I found this out afterwards. The other was a year after I caught her cheating on me and we ended it. I was already in another relationship, and it was going great. Then she came back and messaged me. I'm sorry, I was stupid, we were over. My reply, by Felicia, was to the point and piercing. Story 50. Ha. My ex texted me after almost 4 years of silence. I blocked her instantly. Not doing that, not after years of radio silence. Story 51. They came back? When and how? I was with a girl from age 18 to 21. We moved in together and shared everything. Then suddenly it was me, not her. She stole $5,000 from me in rent and sold my furniture on Craigslist. All she said was, "Oh, you're going to have plenty of girlfriends. You are a good guy." She never reached out or said anything. It has been 5 years now. I am with my next partner and we have a child. I guess life is difficult. Story 52. My first serious ex-girlfriend from high school comes back every 3 to 5 years for a couple of months before ghosting or saying, "Bye, I got into a relationship with someone closer that I really like. I'm sorry, you're such an amazing guy, and I really do love you. You hold a special place in my heart forever and always. It's just you're not close enough." This pattern is fairly consistent every 3 to 5 years. Story 53. Over enough time, they all seem to show back up. I had a significant one, the person who really broke my heart and took me years to get over, show back up 17 years later. A doctor married to a doctor with a beautiful family, well put together, impressive life, world traveler, and she wanted to talk through it. She admitted that she just wasn't ready for that level of commitment back in the day. It actually provided some closure that I didn't know I needed. But still, the others were mostly interested in trying to rekindle something once they found themselves washed up in life and were more of an annoyance. A few of those I had to tell to go away. Now, there was one with a complicated sexual dynamic back in 2005, and she completely ghosted me. It kind of drove me crazy. She never showed back up even though I fully anticipated it and was always curious to hear the story. Besides her, every single one showed back up, including the most significant one, and I never did a single thing to initiate any of it. My advice is to be very careful with this, as there can be temptation, but those moments in life have passed for a reason. There could be some closure in there, and if that is the case, close the door as soon as you get it. Don't carry on with secret conversations and confessions years later. Story 54. Every relationship that I have been in, where the partner calls it off, they always come back. Always. Story 55. Lonely usually, or they did not want to break up to begin with. Regardless, I am not getting back together with them. I have made that mistake before. Story 56. Familiarity is challenging. Building a new relationship requires hard work. If you only achieve moderate success or face differences compared to your previous relationship, you may wonder if it is an illusion. If you do not address the issues, they will persist. Story 57. You need to separate the head from the body when you bury them. Also, ensure the stake is firmly through the heart. Some advise burying at a deserted crossroads, but I find this can draw unwanted attention. Story 58. I almost married this ex. She pursued me for years even though she knew I was married and had children. She would be in town and simply ask me to go to her hotel. I was the opposite of the man she eventually married. She traveled and dated many men, while I stayed in our hometown and settled down. She is on her third marriage or maybe more. I am conventionally attractive and dependable, so perhaps she regrets losing this type of man. Story 59. Boredom and sometimes regret. That's what was going on with mine. She said she had no attention and knew I would give some. Story 60. Ego or attention. They want to validate that they still have you as an option, no matter how unpleasant the breakup. It boosts their confidence, and usually, they know you will never be a long-term option for them. Story 61. Let me check my crystal ball, then I can tell you the exact motivations of the very specific individual you are talking about and did not name. Story 62. They just seem to have found you or something. Why would anyone want to relive bad memories? Only if they had more good memories than bad ones. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.